Yo, all right. We are officially in the second half of the fantasy football season. I know, time is flying by. We're mid-October, which means this is officially the halfway point. We're on week 7 already. It just feels like we just drafted yesterday. I know it's crazy. It's crazy, and you know what, man? It's football, and it feels like football, and I gotta say, like, fall, the end of September, October, probably my favorite time of the year for fantasy football. Obviously, the playoffs are where it's at, but I do feel like once October hits, it's kind of where you're going to start to see the potential of your team really grow. Because I think by November and December, you kind of know exactly where everybody is in the offense. So that's honestly October slowly becoming one of my favorite months in general, but you gotta love it, man. It's been crazy, man. It's been a crazy 6 weeks. We are now on to our 7th week. I had a lot of caffeine, so I'm ready to go. I am pumped to do this breakdown. Some takeaways from last week, things that kind of really stood out to me. I'm not going to recap every game like I usually do, even though that takes like 2 seconds. Let's go to all the matchups. Okay. First and foremost, I got to congratulate the one, the only, the Fresh, in a big-time matchup of the week. What did it come down to? I think the 1 o'clock games, it was lock and loaded. I think we were kind of neck and neck there. Todd Gurley kind of put the nail in the coffin, though, for me. Once Jacksonville got me -1 against probably the worst offensive team in the league. Don't know how that happened, but give the man credit. He made every move possible to get that victory. So there you go. Allen off the schneid. He snaps 3-game losing streak, finds a very serviceable quarterback, and I didn't think Williams was going to be this oblivious to the quarterbacks. I think it was only a matter of time, but you're seeing that 135 is kind of his potential without a quarterback. That kind of did stand out to me because this also means this is now 2 straight losses for Paul. David Sutton is keep fighting back. He keeps fighting back. He's in a tough division. He won a game that was an easy matchup. Did a move that could definitely put him in the driver's seat, kind of. Not in the division, but could really change the outcome of his team, and I'll get to that when I get to his matchups. 2 matchups that really, other than Johnny's victory, of course, 2 matchups that really stood out to me, though, man, was the upset. Lewis Todd getting his first victory against a team that has won 4 straight. 142 to 140, game close. Wow. Props to Lewis Todd for not, giving up, even though he didn't have a win. He gets his first win of the year. And last but not least, I think at this point, you could say what it is. Most of it kind of screams out luck. Brian Bonney, 82 to 61 victory. What a shocker there. The way things have been going for Brian Bonney, man, honestly, I think it's the way of the fantasy gods apologizing to him. I think they felt bad because he took Le'Veon Bell, and they pretty much just said, look, man, we'll spot you every matchup possible, but you're on your own till Le'Veon Bell comes back. I think that's what the gods are kind of trying to tell us. They kind of felt bad for the kid. They say, hey, we'll spot you. We got you, B. Thank you, gods. I think that's pretty much how that conversation went. But anyway, look, man, with the matchups that just happened, we've got a lot of divisional changes. Brian is still on top of his division. Still on top of his division, Allen. Death Row division flopped for the 2nd time in a row. 2 weeks ago it was myself, but after dropping 2 straight, I'm in a 3rd place. Coffey is in 2nd, and Jones, Andre Jones in 1st. And then finally, Johnny is at the top of his division now with a commanding almost 100-point lead. Wow. So, I mean, things are looking good for that team, definitely. We're going to go into week number 3, I think. Week 3. What am I talking about? We're going into week 7 now, so we definitely have a lot of interesting matchups. I'm looking at it right now. So we're going to break those down as best as I can. Okay, the first matchup that we're going to be breaking down as of right now. Here are some things that I'm going to throw out in the matchups. There's a new thing if you look at my video description. Yeah, it's going to show everybody's record. But then I have a side column at what is known as expected record. What am I factoring into that? Well, obviously, when you look at an expected record, you're looking at the points for versus the point against. Maybe something fluky happened in one matchup. So here we go once again. And I actually do think that looking at expected record, I think that both of these teams are where they're supposed to be. I don't think there was any flukiness to any of their statistics. I honestly don't even think there was any, how do I put it? Inconsistencies with their points, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. And that's Andre taking on Max. Two teams going in opposite directions. I think the white flag is almost, if it's not raised, it's quarter of the, it's definitely past halfway. And that's Max's team just losing 5 straight, or are we 6 straight now? No, we're 5 straight. 5 straight losses is just not good. Andre has now taken control of the division. That's 2 straight. This is a shocker, though. This is the 1 week where Andre is not Yahoo's favorite projected team. And I think that has to do with James Conner on a bye. But, this does look like it would result in Andre's 3rd straight victory. But we all know that sometimes matchups can overcome the talent that you're going up against. And we'll see if Max has that. Tom Brady and Andy Dalton. Dalton looks like in a great spot against the Kansas City Chiefs, on which looks to be a shootout. And then Brady on the road against the Chicago Bears. Yes, the Bears do have a very good defense, but it's Tom Brady. He's looking like he's getting back into the groove of things. They're both on the road, though, and I do actually believe when you kind of look at Andy Dalton's game log, 20, 34, 18, 30, 14, 21, he's living up to kind of Andy Dalton expectations. He's not over-projecting it at all. So I might actually just go Tom Brady. I know this is a fantastic spot for Andy Dalton. I actually started him in week 1, got 20 points. The only shocker here was the Baltimore game where he put up 34. But against Atlanta, when the matchups are in green, so if you're looking at your green card or the green matchups, he's at least hit 20. So I expect him to hit the 20-point plateau. But look at what the GOAT has done after the Detroit debacle. 24, 33, 23. I expect him to be in between that range. I would think that Brady puts up 27 and Dalton would put up probably what he's projected, around 24 points. So got to go slight edge to Brady, but not by much. Golden Tate and T.Y. Hilton taking on Tyreek Hill and Alshon Jeffrey. Okay, first and foremost, I want to start with Andre's side of the ball. T.Y. Hilton, look, I would have kept him out another week. You now have the Tre'Davious White factor now, which is not good for his first game back at all by any means. And then you got GT, Golden Tate. It's very hard to predict which Lions wide receiver is going to be the one to lead the pack in fantasy points. They're all going to be around 10 points. We know that. We just need it, so if they don't hit their upside, they're going to be around 10 points. This does look like a Golden Tate game to me, though. The Miami Dolphins have very good coverage cornerbacks, but they are very vulnerable once in a while. Xavier Howard is a very good corner. I don't know if he's on shutdown material yet, but I do think that Galladay, Tate, and Jones are all playable in this matchup. I think Tate outperforms his projections, but T.Y. Hilton, I do not. I know Hilton performs a lot better when he's at home, but this is a hamstring injury. I always get very concerned when I see hamstring injuries on wide receivers. On the flip side, I actually adore Max's wide receiver matchups in Tyreek Hill and Alshon Jeffrey. I get it. We're gonna say it again. The home road splits with Tyreek Hill and the road games, listen to these numbers on the road: 42, 17, 11, 35. Let's listen to the home games: 6 and 8. However, San Francisco was a beatable matchup. He could not get it done. Jacksonville, 10 points. That was against a very good cornerback, and you know who. So this doesn't look like it's a matchup that would scare me at all. And Alshon Jeffrey has been surprisingly good. I don't even know what to say, man. He's definitely surprised me. I'm going to go with Max. Zeke and Joe Mixon taking on David Johnson, Carlos Hyde. Okay, so I love the combo that Andre's got with Zeke and Joe. Then I look at David Johnson and Carlos Hyde. David Johnson's in a good matchup. I actually do like David Johnson's matchup a lot. But David Johnson is becoming extremely touchdown dependent. He's not catching a lot of balls. I know the targets are there, but this is a very lethargic offense now. But he's got opportunity to score. So does Ezekiel Elliott. So then it comes down to Joe Mixon and Carlos Hyde. Mixon, I think, will be utilized in the passing game, and I think it gives him the edge there. So I got to go with Andre in the running back department. George Kittle and Trey Burton are actually really good plays this week, both of them. So I might even say that's a wash. Flex, Willie Snead, Jordan Howard take it on Josh Gordon. Oh, okay, this is interesting. And Evan Ingram. Gordon, usage has been up. That's great. Production has not, though. Willie Snead is in a very sneaky spot here. The Saints, not very good against slot wide receivers, which bodes well for Willie Snead. Obviously, the revenge game factor. Jordan Howard, I don't even know what to think about him at this point. He could still be in play, though. I mean, when he touches the field, a touchdown is possible. You got Gordon and Ingram, though. Gordon looks like a decent matchup. I'd stay away from him, though. Ingram, I do like, but I do like... So I do think it's between Gordon and Howard. Then you got the Ravens D at home against New Orleans. Could be a decent spot with Drew Brees' struggles on the road. And then Tennessee against Chargers I don't like, but okay. Bottom line, it's going to come down to this. Think this matchup is going to be close. I don't think... And I think it's because of Max's matchups. Jeffrey and Hill got fantastic matchups. If they go off, this could get close. But it really, really does come down to Andre's running backs. And if Jordan Howard can find the end zone where everybody else hits his floor, I think this should be a Andre victory. However, Tyreek Hill, when he goes off, is quarterback one type numbers. So if Max, worst case scenario, let's say he goes off, Jeffrey gets 15, Duke. David Johnson gets 15, Carlos Hyde gets 10, and everybody else kind of hits their floor. You're looking at Max putting up close to 120, 130-ish. So, but the only way I think Max has a chance to defeat Andre is if Tyreek Hill has one of those amazing prime time type of games. And I don't see it happening, so I got to go with Andre. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about my team at all. I really don't. But I'll get into it anyway. 2 straight losses, not where we kind of want to be. Have not lived up to projections at all either. I know 2 weeks ago was a shocker. Last week, we had a lot of things to clean up. Lewis then gets his first victory of the year and a big upset. So we've got a lot to break down, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. All right. So basically, when you're looking at it, the projected record for both teams, in my personal opinion, when I look at it, not making excuses at all, but when you look at point total, I think this team should be where it's at or 4-2, I think is where it should be at, but 3-3, it's not far off on the projected value. And then when we have Lewis's team, due to the injuries, this is kind of the result you're going to get. You've had a lot of injuries, and a lot of guys not living up to expectations. But last week you did see what he was hoping for when he drafted a lot of these guys. So let's get into it. I first and foremost do not. I feel flattered that Yahoo would project me for 132. I really do. But I am in no way, shape, or form endorsing this. I just feel like they have a tendency, especially this year, I think more than years past, to kind of over project. Because when we were hitting in the 140s, back when we had kickers, that was mostly because your kicker was getting double-digit points, and you would purposely pick up that kicker just to look at that 140. But I think now we're kind of getting a little carried away with these projections. Anyway, let's get into it, guys. Matty Ice at home taking on Baker Mayfield. Now, Matt Ryan at home has been money all season long. Baker Mayfield is in a really good streaming spot. I think the right move is in play here. I know Mayfield will be big in DraftKings, and I know, Lewis, you do a lot of lineups, so I could expect a lot of Baker Mayfield in your lineups. Matt Ryan at home looks really good, but we need to see... Actually, I don't even think it really matters, but we need to see the status of Ridley and Mohamed Sanu. It's going to be hard, especially since I have Mohamed Sanu, so I don't know. Anyway, both quarterbacks have great matchups. Jarvis Landry and Mohamed Sanu now taking on Jarvis Landry. No, I just said that. Jarvis Landry and Mohamed Sanu taking on Julian Edelman and Antonio Callaway. Bottom line is this. Now, Landry with Mayfield, with the exception of the Jets' second half game, has kind of been He's gotten 11 points, he's gotten 9 points, and then he's gotten 1 or 2. I don't know what that performance was last week, but it was not good. He's getting double teamed. All this stuff is happening with him. But he's still getting volume, and everybody loves this matchup. I get it. Tampa Bay sucks against the pass. The slot corner, not very good. That's where the receivers are doing most of their damage. And then Mohamed Sanu, also in a really good matchup against the New York Giants because they can't cover the middle of the field, and that's where Sanu does most of his damage. I would love to have a report on Mohamed Sanu, but I don't know if I'm going to get one. So I don't know what matchup would be in play yet. Julian Edelman, Tom's looking at him, which is good. I think this is the first offense Edelman's been in where Tom's been spreading the ball more than usual, though. Usually it's Edelman and Gronk, and then everybody else kind of randomly has games, but now it's just like so many options he could throw to. Callaway, a lot of drop passes from Antonio Callaway, but this matchup does look very, very good. But on the same token, though, we don't know what's going to happen. He still might be force-fed targets because they don't have any other receiver other than Jarvis Landry that's healthy right now, which is crazy. So I actually do think that matchup-based wise, these are good for both teams. The one thing about my team that has definitely lived up to the expectations has been the running backs. It's a run-first offense with flourish type of wide receivers. The running backs are doing their thing. The receivers have not the last 2 weeks. They haven't been hitting their floor. Kareem Hunt. I know a lot of people in the fantasy community were panicking after week 1 and then week 2. But since then, 16, 25, 15, 27. I think we're starting to see rookie Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is now being valued properly because Mahomes can't air it out 50 yards plus every play. They kind of got to have a mix going on. Whoa, Philip Lindsay, probably one of the best pickups of the year. Lindsay has shown promise, man. You could make the argument that he's gotten double digits in every game because he punched someone in the Baltimore game. Lindsay's he's a good low floor type of player. He kind of gets you what you need. And this matchup doesn't look too bad. The only thing about the Denver Broncos running backs is you don't know which one's going to be the lead guy, but Lindsay's always the safest of all of them by far. Both tight ends are in mouth-watering matchups too, which is interesting. David Njoku, I'm glad I didn't drop this guy. There's some guys you got to be patient for, and the talent told me to be patient with Njoku. Since Mayfield, 7 targets, 1 game, 11 targets, 12 targets. I think it's safe to say that David Njoku and Baker Mayfield have really good chemistry. And then a guy I didn't think would be relevant after what happened last year when I took him, Austin Hooper. Wow. Good matchups. I know the Giants on paper this week look like a bad matchup. Let's not get it twisted. This is still a decent matchup. I think the only thing that's different this year is Alec Ogletree is a very good coverage linebacker, and I think that's maybe why they're not as much of a joke as what they used to be. Then when we go in flexes, Lewis is swinging for the fences with Marquise Goodwin. This guy could get you 3 points, or he could get you 20. That's the type of player that he is. Alex Collins. Okay, so something we've all kind of knew was going to happen. Buck Allen is not a real NFL running back, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Collins, more snaps. It's good for him. Collins, though, is a guy that is very touchdown dependent to hit value. The Saints' run D is better than their pass D, but take that for a grain of salt. Maybe that's because people just throw all over them. James White, fantastic floor player with a little bit of upside. Latavis. Okay, I've never started Latavis this year. I started him once against the Bills and it was bad. If Cook is out, I think he's in play here. Jags defense have not done very well. I don't know what happened last week. I hope that's a wake-up call. They've got a really hurt Texan team. And the same thing could be said for the Los Angeles Rams defense. There are a lot of other guys that are in play, though, on my bench. I just don't know what I'm going to be doing. Lewis got his first victory last week. This is a good wake-up call game for myself. Hopefully it's a get-right game. I know that's what Rob Coffey told me, so I'm giving you a good shout-out right here, Rob Coffey. Because this is a matchup that is a must-win for me. I think I'm in a very competitive division. Lewis, I know, is more focused on DraftKings now, but it means a lot when somebody in the league, you know, despite having a losing record, is still making moves. I respect the grind, man. I really do. Should be an interesting matchup, though. Definitely an interesting matchup. Looking forward to it. All right, man. So last week on one of these teams, I basically said that it was a do or die win between two teams. This team got the victory, so they are still alive in the matchup. And then you got another team that is it's just very hard to kind of figure out what's going on with this other team. Bottom line, the matchup headline right here is, where are we at? Okay, so it's Matthew Morris taking on David Sutton. Matty Mo. Obviously losing Calvin Ridley in that last game hurt you, because I did think he was on to a fantastic start. He was off, to a fantastic start. David Sutton, as what David Sutton does, he makes a lot of trades, and I think this one thing I'll respect about him is David's a guy who understands the type of situation that he is in, and he's got to risk it all. David pretty much said he's putting all his poker chips to the table. He's going all in on whatever running backs he has to kind of make a really stacked wide receiver lineup, or at least hopes. He got rid of a lot of depth for Keenan Allen. Now, the depth that he did have was pretty much unnecessary depth. I didn't see LaShawn McCoy coming back to the McCoy of old. Adrian Peterson is just another injury away from being irrelevant. Correct me, David, because I don't remember the third guy that was in that trade. Pretty sure it wasn't anything, big either. But, yeah. And now you got Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen has not lived up to wide receiver 1 numbers, I think, with the exception of Kansas City. But he kind of was on this pace last year, too, if you kind of remember. And I think after the bye happens, I think things could be in store for Keenan Allen, because he's still the one guy of the receivers that gets the most targets. Anyway, let's break it down. These teams are almost similar in a way. Mahomes versus Breeze. Breeze on the road, a little concerning. Pat Mahomes at home, gotta go with Mahomes. Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, Odell Beckham, Calvin Ridley. Alright. Beckham. Alright, you finally broke out in Carolina. Oh, I almost cursed in the air. I didn't even realize he had 31 points against the Carolina Panthers. Whoa. Okay. Everything else, though, has kind of been up and down. 16, 17, 15, 10, 31, 7. But this is a fantastic matchup. In a dome, nonetheless. Love the matchup. Both these guys are going head-to-head, so we could see a matchup be decided on Monday night. I like that. Oh, wow. I forgot about Calvin Ridley. I totally forgot about Calvin Ridley. That was not staged at all. I really forgot that you even have him, too. Julio, though, at home. Gotta love it. Look at the numbers. 23, 8, 12, 21, 8, 19. The Pitt game was a little bit of a fluke. Carolina, that was the Calvin Ridley, hello, welcome to the NFL type of game. Keenan Allen, noise. Keenan Allen against the Titans. Fun little fact, Adoree Jackson has played pretty well, but I don't think that's going to stop Allen from the projections. Bottom line is this. If Calvin Ridley is suited up, ready to go, and he's in the dome, I got to go with Morris's wide receiver duo on this one, to be honest. But if Calvin Ridley's not there, I got to play it safe and go with Dave. Dalvin Cook, did we have an update? No, we don't. Okay. I honestly just, first and foremost, boom. Dalvin Cook, let's take a hot take. I think the coaching staff did a terrible job. This guy should have been put on short-term IR. They clearly were saying in the preseason that we'll see, they're doing this. They didn't have any confidence about his health. So why was he not on a short-term IR where he could have been fully rested, looked explosive? He did at times, and then the hamstring pulls out, and he couldn't go. That to me is even more of an alarming side. I'd be surprised if he suits up this week. Matt Breida apparently has like 5 season-ending injuries, and he's still on the field. This guy's indestructible. It's awesome. TJ Yeldon and Tariq Cohen. I love the game scripts that they'll be in this week. So for that, I got to go with Matty Mo. Tight end is empty for Matty Mo. I might actually contact you for a former Bama boy. Zach Ertz, though, is money with Carson Wentz. Doesn't matter who he's going to put in. Edge goes to David. Smokey Brown and Deshaun Jackson. Whoa. Take it on Thody Michelle and Isaiah Crowell. I love well, I don't want to say love. I like Michelle, but Brown and Jackson have very, very beatable matchups. Houston against Jacksonville, why not? Looks like Matty Mo is going to make some moves as well. Oh, Albert Wilson finally getting respect on the points. He's jumped up to 8 a week. Woo! Alright, time to pick a winner. Pat Mahomes is going to do his thing, no doubt about it. I do think that David is going to have a distinct advantage. If Breeze gets in the low 20s, David gets the advantage immediately there. Julio Jones, regardless of if Ridley is there or not, is still going to be Julio Jones. I am a little concerned with the running backs on the David side of the ball, and that's where I think this game could get close. I think Morris's, when you look at Beckham, Ridley, Yeldon, Cohen, Morris's upside right there, all 4 of those guys can come close to 100 points. I think they have that type of potential. Because of the matchups, these are mouth-watering matchups. They are. Think about it. 25 points, I think, is the upside for all those guys. 25 times 4 is 100. Yeah. It could be that type of game. I would say that they come close to more of 70 combined points, which is still absolutely phenomenal, though. Then when I look at the David side of the ball, Julio and Keenan Allen, I don't think Keenan Allen, his upside is slowly going down, but I don't know if maybe he starts off slow in the first half. I don't know. Zach Ertz is good. John Brown is good. Bottom line, it's going to come down to this. The key to victory for David, you need Patty Mahomes to be Patty Mahomes, and so far, that's worked out for you. Julio Jones has to have another Julio type of game. It's worked out. I will say this, even if Cook is out there, I think he's going to be limited, so I don't think he's going to be much of a factor. Ertz, though, I think has another big game as well, and John Brown. But I do think that if Calvin Ridley does not play, I think it's a lock that David is to pull an upset. This is not an upset. They're close. I think both teams are pretty much evenly matched when healthy. Because Matt has found a lot of interesting RB2s, and he's done a good job on the management side of things there. But who am I picking as a winner? I think there's a lot of X factors that come into play here. So Morris doesn't have a defense, he doesn't have a tight end, and I get that. Mahomes could drop close to 40. Go figure. But I think all these other guys that you have in the flex are very touchdown dependent. If Calvin Ridley is a no-go, I can confidently say that David is going to be the victor. Because, yeah, Julio Jones still doesn't have a touchdown, but he's going to get the bulk of the targets and whatnot. So I think Calvin Ridley is the deciding factor. If Ridley is to kind of show up, I would not be surprised if Matt keeps it close. But I do think that David can march on to another victory here. Oh, wow. I think it's been a long time since I've done a take on this game. A rivalry renewed. The vintage one taking on Alan Williams. So Mr. Williams, or the Don Father as he calls himself. Interesting things have happened to the Don Father, to say the least. Started off really hot, 2-0. The expected record, when you look at what's in the description, there's no doubt in my mind this team should be 5-1. I don't care who he's lost to. If you had a brain and picked the quarterback, I think the only loss that I think that was kind of hit you in the mouth, knockout type of a punch, I think was the Rob Coffey loss. I know the Johnny one was back and forth, tit for tat, whatever the heck you want to call it. But I don't even remember who you had at quarterback during that game. Was it? Oh, it was Matt Ryan. No, you should have lost that. Your team should be 4-2. Sorry, not 5-1. My apologies, Jay. My apologies. All right. Anyway, here we go. Oh, and Vintage Harsh. We talked about it. I think this team is a sleeper team, but it could only go as healthy as Will Fuller can go. Now you got a hamstring injury. Doesn't look very promising. Jameis against Cousins. Cousins has a really good matchup. Jameis does too, but I might go Kirk. I gotta go Kirk. AJ and Michael Thomas, D-Hop and Robbie Anderson. Well, for some reason, the whole Texans team is like questionable, which is hilarious. Robbie Anderson is now questionable too, so I easily got to go with the wide receivers on Allen's team. Barkley and Duke Johnson, Naheem Hines, Chris Thompson. Barkley alone is going to cancel out those other two. Breezing by. Jordan Reed, Eric Ebron. I'll give Ebron on that one. Galladay and Woods taking on Cooks and Allen Robinson 2. Wow. As I'm doing this, I just saw a queue pop up. That's crazy. I didn't know it updated like that. Hold on, Allen Robinson. Why does he have a queue? Galladay, I love. Robert Woods, love, but who knows? It could be Cooks canceling him out. Why is Minnesota only... The fact that Minnesota is only projected 9 points against the New York Jets with no wide receivers, I think is a joke. I think Minnesota should be projected to at least get 17 points. Darnold's going to be on his back throughout the whole game. All right. I really didn't want to breeze by this, but I think the talent... Allen's team is healthier. You've got a lot of guys fresh off of a bye that are looking ready to explode, and Harsh's team is kind of almost in the ER. But you know, Harsh still has some interesting options, man. I'm not going to count the kid out. But in this case, I think there's a lot of firepower to overcome. Got to go with Mr. Williams. Oh, wow. Okay. These two teams, to me, are the most controversial teams that we have in the Boss number 2 league. And by controversial, it's not for good controversy. All right? You got one team that's not putting up any points at all, yet they still have a 4-2 record. In my opinion, this is the work of the fantasy gods. I think they felt bad that Brian took Le'Veon Bell. I think they looked at his roster and actually thought after the draft and said, you know what? This team could surprise a lot of people. At first, I was like, Brian, what are you doing? But I was more focused on the fact that he was watching a soccer game during the draft. Still a little hurt about that, Brian. Anyway, but then when I took a second glance, I'm like, you know what? This is not a bad team. The only guy who's kind of not lived up to expectations, though, is Hogan. On the other side, Paul had a 4-0 lead, and a lot of people weren't buying into it. He's had one massive explosion game, but that's it. I mean, that's pretty much all he's done, and everything else has kind of been eh. And now it looks like this could get even more interesting, okay? Because Brian doesn't have Le'Veon Bell, but that would indicate that Paul doesn't have Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. The combo that's kind of been the guys that have been leading him to victory are not available. Which means we could be looking at another Brian Bonney victory. Jared Goff over Flacco, easily. Even though this is a good matchup. Diggs and Evans, great combos and fantastic matchups. Got it. Michael Crabtree and Sterling Shepard, third floor guys. I don't think they can compete with the Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans combo. Wendell Smallwood, Mark Ingram, nothing to write home about. LaShawn McCoy, Adrian Peterson, also nothing to write home about. Kelsey over Olsen, love Tyler Boyd. Coleman I do like. I think people are Buck Allen. I think people are jumping up and down to that. Washington against Dallas. That's an interesting pickup, B. All right, bottom line, it comes down to this. I don't feel confident without Ben and AB on Paul's side of things. We understand Paul's going to come out and say the only reason I lost is because of Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger were on a bye. I get that, but a loss is a loss. Brian, Jesus, bro. I don't know how you're going to have 5 wins, but you're going to have 5 wins. Without further ado, the match of the week is pretty obvious. You didn't even need to look at the records. The expected records, okay? So basically what I'm trying to tell all of you guys right now is where I think these teams should be right now. What should their record be at? And it's honestly close. I don't see any way that the record should be that much different. I'll start with the Johnny side of the ball. Johnny is 4-2. I actually do firmly believe that's where he should be at. The one dud game he had against Brian Bonney, most likely I would say, you know what, Johnny should have had that victory, but that was the one game Brian actually did put up a lot of points for his standards. So I honestly think that Johnny should be where he's at 4-2. I don't see any other reason why he shouldn't be on this. He definitely shouldn't be 3-3. 5-1, you might be able to make an argument, but I'm not going to go there. And on the flip side, our champ, Sippin' Coffee, projected record, he's 4-2 right now. His expected record, he should be 5-1. The only matchup I think that kind of might have gotten out of hand is pretty much due to a bye week. Pretty much, this just shows how good of a manager he's been over the years. I think it's no secret, with the exception of that one random year where he was not good. He lost to Lewis. The kid still put up 140, and Coffey loves using these. But if I had Alvin Kamara, do the math, I should have had 170 plus. I'm not going to argue with that. Okay. So I do think that it should be 4-2 versus 5-1, but nonetheless, 4-2 versus 4-2. Both these teams are in the top 5, I believe, if not top 3. I have to double check that. They might be top 5. I can't even talk. They might be top 5 because of Allen's explosive starts the first 2 games of the season. First and foremost, things we got to look at in this matchup. Johnny Fresh. Let's talk about this. When Johnny Fresh goes against teams with a winning record at the time when he faces them, Johnny Fresh is 4-0. He beats all the good teams. When Johnny Fresh goes against teams that have a losing record, Johnny Fresh is 0-2. What the hell is up with that? I don't know. Which would, if we're going to play the history card, which would bode well for Johnny in this matchup. One thing that is very, very true, though, that is a game changer. No Juju Smith-Schuster, no Devontae Adams. I did speak to Jay. He's not taking this matchup very lightly at all. This would be a very big ego boost if Johnny Fresh took down me in a matchup I know he was very, very nervous about, beat me, and now he's going against the champ. Big ego boost and a big statement for the league. Okay, Cam versus Wentz. They're going head-to-head. They're in the matchup of the week. They play on the same field on Sunday. It's a good matchup for both. I actually do think both have very, very good games. I think they both have upside of 30 in this game. I think both defenses are very overrated, and I think that it might be a back-and-forth type of affair. For the Carolina Panthers, Newton is going to do his thing. I know he had a little bit of a dud last week, but also 2 DJ Moore fumbles canceled out 2 drives. So even if he wasn't that good, there's some upside that was left on that field, and it wasn't his fault. Carson Wentz, same thing. He looked really good against the Giants. I get it. It's just the Giants. I do see a little questionable tag, though. This is interesting. Whoa. Back. Oh, he's all right. I'm gonna say wash. Okay. The best way to see in the fucking. All right, Adam Thielen, right? All right. So I said I'm gonna project him for 20. Well, I'm going for 30 here. Devin Funchess, 9. Why? I'm not a big Funchess guy. He doesn't do much for me. I mean, if he scores a touchdown, that's great, but it's always like 15 to 17 tops is his upside. Funchess might hit 15 at least, I think, in this game. 2-touchdown game? No, I don't see that happening, but that could happen. Emmanuel Sanders and Sammy Watkins are going to have to start. I think it's no-brainer. You got to go with Jay's side of the ball in the running back department. Camara versus Gurley. Oh my god, it's like a heavyweight boxing. Camara versus Kelly. Gurley's been a stud. Kamara still should do his thing. I'm not going to pick the edge on Gurley as much as I want to, because Alvin Kamara, even on 5 touches, could probably do what Gurley's doing on 10. It's just, I don't want to say Gurley easily. Let me read you this. I'm sorry, because I know, Jay, you are big on freaking Roto Notes. If you read the recent blurb on Alvin Kamara, I'm going to read you this last sentence. This is, the people at Roto, what are they on? It says, Kamara should be more involved coming out of the bye in Baltimore, but Ingram's presence is a real threat to his high-end RB1 status. Again, recency bias, guys. It's the same type of people that said with Jarvis Landry, well, with Baker Mayfield with Jarvis Landry combo, Jarvis Landry is pushing up to be wide receiver 1 status. 2 weeks later, he didn't catch any passes. Looks like Landry's going to be wide receiver 2. Whoever does these notes should be fired. They are not patient and they're not recent. This is the biggest joke of a blurb I think I've ever seen. I know I'm going on a rant and this is off topic, but why in God's name would you even say he's a recency bias? I guarantee you, somebody take $20 on a bet that it says when Kamara goes for 33, Alvin Kamara is clearly a high-end RB1 the next week. I can't stand this crap. And honestly, I've got a hot take. The footnotes are ruining fantasy football for the skilled players, at least. Where was I? Kamara and Kerryon Johnson versus Royce Freeman and Todd Gurley. Freeman, I think, is touchdown or bust. Kerryon Johnson really doesn't need a touchdown, and I still think he'll... Even if Johnson didn't get a touchdown, I think he would still have the same amount of points as Freeman. I do think this is a Gronk explosion game, though. I know we haven't seen it. I think it's coming this week. And Kyle Rudolph has just not done anything. Chris Godwin. Marlon Mack gets the start. Very interesting. Taking on Corey Clement and Christian Kirk. The Rosen and Kirk combo. Rosen and Kirk combo. Kirk's nice with Rosen. I know this is it's either him or Eckler. Coffey, I think, is just not starting Eckler for the time being. Clement should get the workload. There is always the Doug Peterson shenanigans with running backs, just like Bill Belichick, though. Godwin. Chris Godwin. He's a decent play, I think. He's actually been he's actually been very consistent. I think Chris Godwin and Mohamed Sanu are kind of in that same tier of guys that get a decent amount of targets, but they won't have over like 100 yards. And if they do, it's, they're guys who get like 7 to 10 on a good week and still manage to get you in those teens. Marlon Mack looked very decent. Upset I didn't pull the trigger and putting this guy. Oh, this guy even made a guest appearance projection. This is a good matchup against the Buffalo Bills. But I don't care. He has to have a touchdown to break into the teens. However, I like Mack a lot better than Lamar Miller because I've already seen Lamar Miller. I am very surprised, as much hype as I saw on Twitter, that Judge Ito isn't getting the start because I love Judge Ito. So I am a little bit surprised that Judge Ito is not in the starting lineup. When I look at bench plays, I know Jermaine Kearse was picked up. He might be the only healthy wide receiver for the Jets, and I don't think that's good for his value. Cooper Kupp is out. I think we all knew that was going to happen. Bottom line, I got to pick a winner. Look, the man Jay over here. Look, this is a good spot when you want to take Robert Coffey. You got to make sure that. I think at this point you got to make sure that you got some sort of advantage. Ratting on Yo said, because Coffey is number 2 in points in the league. I think, unless Allen had an explode. Whoa, sorry, Coffey. You're number 3, actually. I just checked. The Dunfather's got 2 more points than you. Yeah, so, look, man. He doesn't have a full lineup in, and Jay, with the exception of Cooper Kupp, but let's be honest, as good as Cooper Kupp is, he's nowhere on the level of Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Adams. Look, bottom line, Jay is going to take advantage of this matchup, and I think it's going to be a fun one to watch because I do think that Coffey does not lay down for anybody, no matter who he has. This kid put up 140 without Alvin Kamara. It's always a possibility that he's going to do something else because this is why he's the champ. This is why he's ranked number 1 in the power rankings. So, yeah, you know. But anyway, I do think that because of Jay's full roster, and I do love Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady in this game when they take on Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears. I think this might be a big Gronk week. I know we haven't seen it. 19 points since week 1. Everything else has kind of been eh. I mean, as a tight end, you're okay, but not for what you paid for Gronk. Bottom line, my prediction of this score is going to be Johnny J. Fresh 135, Robert Coffey 125. And that's how it's going to be, boys. That's how it's going to be.